Every idea we've covered in this series so far has quietly been resting on something we haven't actually named yet. The dichotomy of control, amor fati, the view from above. All of it sits on top of one foundational claim about what kind of universe you're actually living in. Here's the claim: the universe isn't chaos. It isn't hostile, and it isn't indifferent noise either. The Stoics believed it was a single, coherent, rational system. Everything connected, everything following from cause, nothing happening for no reason at all. And they believed that if you actually understood that, at a gut level, a huge amount of your anxiety would simply have nowhere left to attach itself. This is the strangest part of Stoicism to a modern audience, because it sounds like ancient cosmology, not therapy. Stick with me anyway, because underneath the old language, there's a genuinely useful psychological move, and it's the deepest layer of everything else in this series. Here's how the Stoics actually pictured the cosmos, and it's worth hearing in full before we translate it into anything usable. They didn't imagine the universe as a machine, dead matter bumping into other dead matter, indifferent to whatever happens as a result. They imagined it as something closer to a single living organism, rational, ordered, breathing, growing, holding every part of existence, including you, as organs within one larger body. The word doing the heavy lifting here is logos. In Greek philosophy generally, logos means reason, or word, or account. For the Stoics specifically, it meant something much bigger, the divine rational principle running through and organizing the entire cosmos, identified, depending on which Stoic you asked, with God, with Zeus, with fate, with providence. Not a personality sitting somewhere directing traffic. A structuring intelligence woven directly into the fabric of everything that exists. And here's the detail that connects this cosmic scale idea directly back to you. The Stoics believe that same logos exist inside human beings too, in miniature, as our own capacity for reason. When you think clearly, when you reason well, you're not doing something unrelated to the wider cosmos. You're expressing the same rational principle that organizes the stars, just at a smaller, personal scale. That's not poetic flourish in their system. It's the literal mechanism connecting your mind to the structure of reality itself. The Stoics had a second concept working alongside logos, called pneuma, usually translated as breath, or spirit, or vital force. Think of pneuma as the physical carrier of logos, the actual substance, in their physics, that transmits rational order into matter. Pneuma was said to pervade everything, but at different intensities depending on what it's animating. At its most basic tension, it simply holds an object together. A rock keeps being a rock. At a slightly higher tension, it produces growth. A plant knows how to become a plant. Higher still, it produces a soul, an animal that can sense and respond to its surroundings. And at its highest, most refined tension, it produces reason itself, a human mind capable of understanding the structure it's embedded in, not merely reacting to it. This gives you a genuine ladder, running from a stone all the way up to a philosopher, with the same underlying substance simply operating at different levels of intensity the whole way up. You're not a separate, isolated thing dropped into an indifferent universe. In this system, you're a highly refined expression of the exact same stuff the stars and stones are made of, just wound tighter. Here's where the physics starts producing an actual emotional effect, rather than just an interesting cosmology. The Stoics called it sympathia, cosmic sympathy, the idea that every part of the universe is interconnected and mutually responsive, because the pneuma binding everything together transmits influence throughout the whole system. Nothing happens in true isolation. A change in one part of the cosmos has some effect, however small, on every other part, the way a single vibrating string affects the tension of an entire connected instrument. This wasn't just a nice metaphor to the ancient Stoics. They took it seriously enough to use it as a justification for some ideas modern audiences would consider superstitious, like reading meaning into astrological events. We don't need to inherit that specific application to get the useful part of the underlying picture. A universe where everything is woven together into one coherent, responsive fabric, rather than a random scattering of disconnected, indifferent objects that happen to occasionally collide. Notice the emotional weight that picture carries, once you actually sit inside it instead of just hearing it as trivia. A universe made of disconnected, indifferent parts colliding at random is, psychologically, a genuinely frightening place to exist. Nothing holds together, nothing is reliably connected to anything else, and your place in it is arbitrary and unsupported. A universe where everything is interwoven into one living, responsive structure is a fundamentally different place to exist inside, even before you've resolved a single one of your actual problems. The problems are the same. The felt texture of the world around them isn't. This brings us to the piece that matters most for anxiety specifically, how the Stoics understood fate. In casual modern usage, fate tends to carry a slightly ominous flavor, an external force, possibly hostile, deciding things about your life that you have no say in arbitrarily. That is close to the opposite of what the Stoics meant. For them, fate was simply the causal structure of the universe itself, the unbroken chain of causes and effects arising from the nature of things. No external decree, no arbitrary script being imposed on you from outside. Fate, in their system, is identical with logos, with nature, with providence, not a separate hostile force layered on top of a good universe, but simply the honest name for how a coherent universe actually operates. Here's the specific claim that does the anxiety-relieving work. Everything happens from a cause, and everything, however painful in isolation, contributes to the order and coherence of the whole. One of the early Stoics, Cleanthes, put this into a hymn addressed to Zeus, praising the divine logos that guides all things toward the common good, even the parts that look, from where you're standing, chaotic, cruel, or senseless. This isn't a claim that bad things are secretly good, or that suffering doesn't really hurt. That would be a cheap, dishonest reading, the same trap we flagged back in the Amor Fati video. It's a narrower, more defensible claim that the events happening to you aren't random noise from an incoherent universe. They're following causal threads that connect to everything else, the same way every other event in history has. The universe isn't targeting you specifically with senseless chaos. It's running, the way it always runs, on structure, and you happen to be one of the countless points that structure passes through. Any serious explanation of Stoic fate has to deal with the obvious objection immediately, because it's the first thing a sharp listener will raise. If everything is causally determined, what's actually left for you to decide? Doesn't this whole picture just cancel out personal responsibility entirely? The Stoic answer here is more careful than it first appears. They didn't argue that fate removes choice from the picture. They argued that fate explains the conditions under which choice happens. Your character, your reasoning, your judgment. These are themselves real links in the causal chain, not exceptions standing outside it. When you deliberate and choose, that deliberation is a genuine cause producing a genuine effect, fully embedded in the same fated structure as everything else, not floating above it or interrupting it. Think of it this way. A rock, when pushed, simply rolls. It has no internal contribution to make to the outcome. A person, when pushed by circumstance, actually contributes something of their own to what happens next. their judgment, their character, their assent or refusal. Fate provides the push. What you contribute in response is still authentically yours, and it still authentically matters to what happens, even though the whole sequence, start to finish, is one connected causal fabric. This is the same idea from the Inner Citadel video, wearing its cosmological clothing. Your judgment is a real, causally effective thing, operating inside a determined universe rather than standing impossibly outside of one. Let's make the psychological mechanism explicit, because this is ultimately the entire point of the topic. A significant portion of anxiety comes from an implicit picture of the world as arbitrary, disconnected, and potentially hostile. A place where bad things can simply happen to you, for no reason, unconnected to anything, with no underlying coherence holding any of it together. That picture, even when nobody states it out loud, tends to produce a low-grade, constant vigilance. Since nothing is structurally connected or predictable, anything could go wrong at any time, for no comprehensible reason. Stoic physics offers a direct, structural alternative to that picture, not just a mood adjustment layered on top of it. Not, don't worry, it'll be fine. That's a promise the Stoics never actually made, and bad things genuinely do happen to good people in their system too. The claim is narrower and more defensible. Whatever happens, happens for a reason, within a connected, coherent structure, and you are a genuine, contributing part of that structure rather than an isolated target standing outside it, waiting to be hit by randomness. That shift from arbitrary chaos I'm exposed to toward coherent structure I'm woven into doesn't remove the difficulty of any actual problem you're facing. It changes the background feeling the problem sits inside. The same event, held against a backdrop of connected causal order rather than senseless chance, tends to produce steadiness rather than dread, even when the event itself hasn't changed one bit. Here's an honest caveat worth including directly, because a modern audience will reasonably resist parts of this if we don't address it. You don't need to literally believe in cosmic fire breath or a literally divine, living universe to get real use out of this framework. A workable, secular translation exists, and it's worth stating plainly. Treat providence as an attitude toward reality, rather than a metaphysical fact you have to personally verify. Reality isn't obligated to be fair to you personally. The Stoics never claimed it was. But it is coherent. It does run on cause and structure rather than senseless randomness. And your job, within that structure, is to respond with intelligence and character rather than resentment at a universe that was never promising you anything different. Most modern Stoic practitioners hold to physics this way, keeping the psychological posture the ancient cosmology produces, while setting the literal metaphysics down gently, as a historical curiosity rather than a required belief. You can be entirely secular and still get the anxiety-reducing effect this topic is built around, provided you hold on to the core move, seeing structure and connection where you used to see only randomness and threat. This video is, in a real sense, the floor everything else in this series has been standing on without our naming it directly. A more fatty only fully makes sense once you understand the Stoics believe the causal chain producing your life was rational and connected to a coherent whole, not a targeted, senseless act of cruelty aimed specifically at you. The view from above works by placing your problem inside a vast, connected cosmic order, which only functions as intended if that order is actually coherent, rather than an arbitrary void you're being shrunk into. The Inner Citadel described a faculty of judgment that stays free even inside a determined universe, which is exactly the free will resolution we just walked through, now given its proper cosmological grounding. None of those earlier videos required you to accept the physics explicitly, but all of them quietly assume it. This is the video where that assumption finally gets stated outright, examined, and, hopefully, actually justified, rather than simply inherited. There's a particular kind of relief available here that's different from every other technique we've covered in this series, because it isn't really a technique at all. It's a change in the picture behind everything else, from a universe that might do anything to you, for no reason, at any moment, to one that runs on structure, connection, and cause, with you as one genuine, contributing part of that structure rather than an isolated target standing outside of it. The problems in front of you don't get smaller because of this. What changes is the room they're sitting in. And it turns out that room matters more than most people ever stop to notice.